Hi, everyone. Welcome to Compassion in Action. Today, we're speaking with Ellen Felsenthal, who is the founder and head of the herd at New Moon Farm, a sanctuary near Arlington, Washington. It's a small sanctuary, but it has a huge presence. And one of the things you feel when you first step on the land of that farm is the welcoming warmth and the caring. And that all comes from the heart of our next guest, who has a heart so big that once, at a moment's notice, she welcomed a huge group of more than 200 goats to the farm. Um, I'm fortunate to call her a friend, and I'm just so glad she's here with us today. Thanks for joining us, Ellen.
Yeah, hi. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, one thing I wanted to ask you, because you know how geeky I was when I first came, and what are goats like? What would non-goat people, like most of us are, what would we be surprised to learn about goats?
Um, I think people generally think of them as these sort of goofy farm animals that'll eat anything and they headbutt everything, and they're not like that at all. They're incredibly intelligent, affectionate animals. They're so smart. They learn their names, they can learn tricks. I think they're easier to train than dogs. People just don't expect that, right? They have this silly tin can reputation. The reality is they're very picky eaters. The other animals on the farm tend to clean up after them. And they all just have such unique personalities, just like any other species. And when an animal comes to us that's kind of shut down from whatever they've experienced, getting to see them come out of their shell and show us their true self
Hmm.
is just different than any other kind of animal I've worked with.
Are they the escape artists that they're rumored to be?
No, the reality is they just require really particular kind of fencing and setup. And I think most people get the animal first and then try to put up the facilities, and they end up bringing their goats to me because they don't know what to do because they're always getting out.
And I'm sure those goats are glad you're there when they come. Um, why, I know you have other animals on the farm as well, but why did you choose to primarily rescue goats?
It wasn't really a choice. It sort of happened because there was this hole in the rescue world. I was involved with cat and dog rescue and horse rescue, and goats kept coming up, and nobody would take them because nobody had the right facilities. And I happened to have a couple of goats because I had rescued one from a petting zoo and one from a dairy. And so I just became sort of the default goat person. And then once I had 30 or so goats, I realized I had to do it differently. I either had to start adopting them out and finding homes, or I needed to say no. And so New Moon Farm happened, but it was never in the plan. I had no idea that goats were such incredible beings and that they would pretty much take over my life.
And for those of you, if you're ever fortunate enough to visit her farm, she, in certain times of the day, the goats, the horses, the sheep, the donkeys, everybody's together. It's like a little Garden of Eden in a pasture, and it's truly lovely to experience. So, I wanted to ask you, and I know you have volunteers at the farm, but you are the primary caretaker. I think people would be interested to learn what that is every day. It is a tremendous amount of work.
Um, it is a lot of work, but it's really joyful work. I get up first thing in the morning and I go out to the barn and greet everybody. They all come running to the fence to see me. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the food I'm about to give them, but I give everybody breakfast. There's a few goats that are toothless, and so they get to come into the barn and eat their special mashes. And then while everybody's eating, I walk around and I do my herd check. I give everybody a little bit of attention and check them out for any issues that come up. And then we do the medicating. About half the animals here are on regular medication. And then I go to work because this is not my actual job. And then when I come home from work, I do it all again, feeding, medicating, taking care of health issues that come up, chores, fixing things, mending fences, all of that. And then I go inside and I do some work for my job. And then I go back out and do a herd check before bed. So my days are bookended with the animals, which is, uh, it's just joyful. Yeah.
7 days a week, correct? Even
Seven
when you're
days a
not
week.
teaching college, the other 7 days are goats
Yeah.
and horses and donkeys and sheep.
And on holidays and in the winter and all of it.
Yeah, it never stops. Can I ask you, I mentioned that you were a small rescue, but you have a large presence, and I know you live near a farming community. How do you have such a good and large presence in this area? Because you are known, and people speak of
Right.
you and your organization glowingly.
Well, I think we got so well known because we were one of the first goat rescues in the country. When I started the rescue, there were a couple on the East Coast, nobody on the West Coast. And so we have been taking in goats from Southern California to Victoria, BC to Idaho, all coming into this area. Over the last 20 years, we've taken in almost 2,000 animals.
Mm.
Most of them found new homes, which is fabulous. We offer Goat 101 workshops where we teach people pretty much everything they need to know about having goats. We offer those workshops for free to animal control officers and staff and volunteers of other sanctuaries. And so the workshop is a big piece of it. And then we do free like mini workshops at humane societies and shelters. Education's a really big part of our mission here. We want people to understand that these are, as this group knows, these sentient feeling beings. And I think the more people actually get to interact with the animals, the more that they see that and they shift towards a compassionate life.
So speaking of interaction, I know you have children in groups occasionally to the farm. I know that if somebody lives near Seattle, that they can volunteer at the farm, not ad hoc, but on a schedule.
Right.
And so if anybody in the audience, if you live near Seattle, I would recommend that you and would like to volunteer, I could recommend that you reach out to Ellen for either volunteer work or maybe your upcoming hay drive. There's a lot of things that they can help with. Does it take a special, do goats need a lot of room? Or does it take a special type of person to rescue or become a foster family or to adopt a goat? What do you look for?
Um, we recommend that people have at least a quarter of an acre and that they have at least two or three goats. But all different kinds of people, just like all different kinds of people have dogs. The possibility is there if people have the space and the time, they're willing to put in the time.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to getting to know your crew. I've got a big crush on Nigel right now. So
Me too.
anyway, so also one last question, and that I'd like to ask of most of our guests. What can all of us here today do when we leave this meeting? What can all of us do to make the world a more compassionate place for ourselves and animals?
I think it's as simple as treating everyone with compassion. Other people, we never know what's going on in their lives. I think we tend to judge people too quickly. Obviously, compassion for the animals. They are not here for our entertainment or our palate. And then self-compassion, I think, gets left out. We often think about the animals and the people, but we've got to be more compassionate with ourselves in order to spread that in the world around us.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for being with us. I personally think you're one of the most compassionate people I've met, and I'm honored to call you a friend.
Thank
So
you.
thanks, Ellen.
It's been
Okay.
great.